That day, in between filming a costume drama, Zhao Jinmai had just finished her grueling scenes. The heavy dress she was wearing made her body feel tired, and fine sweat stuck to her temples. As soon as the director said cut, he breathed a sigh of relief and walked towards the chair to rest. However, before he could sit down, a bottle of cold mineral water was already stretched out towards his face. Jinmai looked up and found Zhang Linghe standing there. "You're thirsty, right?" he asked in a relaxed tone. Jinmai was stunned. "You always show up on time." Linghe smiled. "Habit, perhaps." From that day on, Jinmai began to realize something. Zhang Linghe had a tendency to always be nearby. Not just by chance, but as if it had become a natural reflex. Whenever he needed something, Linghe was already there. As Jinmai forgot the script, Linghe patiently reread the dialogue. As he froze, Linghe suddenly appeared carrying an extra jacket. And just as he was feeling nervous ahead of an important scene, Linghe stood beside him, patting him softly on the shoulder with a soothing gaze. At first, Jinmai thought it was just because they were familiar colleagues. However, the longer it went on, the clearer it became. Zhang Linghe had a habit that could not be abandoned. He could not be far from Zhao Jinmai. Unconscious attention. The habit was even more evident when they attended various drama promotions. At fan meeting events, Linghe always walked half a step behind Jinmai, as if being a silent protector. When the fans were too excited and crowded, Linghe subconsciously spread his arms, protecting Jinmai from being pushed. Even during the autograph session, his gaze occasionally glanced towards Jinmai, making sure he was fine. "Why do you keep looking at me?" Jinmai asked once, half-jokingly, as they sat side by side behind the stage. Linghe paused for a moment before replying, "I didn't consciously do it." The answer made Jinmai speechless. There was something in his sincere tone, not just a light-hearted answer. Linghe's habits were getting carried away in little things. When they eat with the crew, he always unknowingly picks up chopsticks for Jinmai first. During a long trip on the production bus, Linghe put a small pillow on Jinmai's seat to make him more comfortable. For others, it may just be a normal concern. But for Jinmai, he could feel the specialness in each of those movements. And he began to be afraid of one thing. Did others notice it too? Featured on TV shows. The answer to that question came sooner than he expected. That night, they were invited to guest star in a big variety show. The studio was full of spectators, television cameras lined up at different angles, ready to capture their every expression. At the beginning of the show, everything went normally. They sat down with other guest stars, answered light questions, laughed at the host's jokes. However, as events progressed, Zhang Linghe's habits slowly came to the surface. As Jinmai lowered his head to grab a glass of water, Linghe unknowingly approached, pouring water for him. The camera instantly captured the moment, and the big screen in the studio showed it. The audience cheered boisterously. "Wow, Zhang Linghe paid so much attention to Zhao Jinmai," exclaimed the host while flirting. Jinmai felt his cheeks heat up. He turned to Linghe, who only smiled shyly but didn't seem intent on denying. The next segment is a team game. As Jinmai confusedly answered a quick question, Linghe spontaneously leaned over, whispering a little in his ear. The camera captured the scene again. The audience was excited. The host was more excited to tease. "It seems that Zhang Linghe can't stay away from Jinmai, huh?" Laughter filled the studio. Jinmai lowered his head, trying to hide his reddened face. Meanwhile, Linghe only gave a small nod, as if admitting the accusation without guilt. That night, the audience saw not only the usual guest stars. They saw a real habit, Zhang Linghe's habit that could not be far from Zhao Jinmai, even in the presence of thousands of eyes. Public uproar. Clips from the show went viral the next day. Social media flooded with comments. "Look at the way Zhang Linghe keeps paying attention to Zhao Jinmai. It's not a coincidence. They should be, seriously. If it's just a habit, it's the sweetest habit I've ever seen." Jinmai read the comment with mixed feelings. Some were embarrassed, but some couldn't stop smiling. Meanwhile, Linghe didn't seem to be affected at all. He remained as he always was, always near her, always watching her. "You're not afraid of people misunderstanding?" Jinmai asked as they sat in the waiting room before the interview. Linghe raised an eyebrow, then looked at her gently. "Misunderstood? I think they're just looking at what's already there." The answer made Jinmai speechless. He wanted to deny, wanted to say it was just a coincidence, but the words seemed to evaporate before they reached his lips. When everyone realizes. Day by day, Linghe's habits were getting harder to hide. In every appearance together, the camera eye always manages to capture their small interactions. At a gala event, as Jinmai walked the red carpet, Linghe involuntarily smoothed the hem of her dress so as not to stumble. Photographers immediately captured the moment, and the next day, the photo filled the pages of entertainment news. On another talk show, when Jinmai was talking to the host, Linghe was seen staring at him without blinking. The observant host immediately said, "Why is your gaze only towards Jinmai? You didn't see us at all." The whole studio laughed, while Jinmai covered his face with his hands. Every moment of it, though simple, added to the public's confidence. Zhang Linghe really had a habit that couldn't be further from Zhao Jinmai. Habits that become feelings. One night, after a busy schedule of promotional events, Jinmai finally ventured to question Linghe directly. They sat in the hotel garden, away from the crowd, only in the company of the dim light of street lamps. "Why do you always do that?" he asked softly. Linghe turned his head. "Doing what?" "Always watching me. Always near me. Even on TV shows, you can't hide it." Linghe was silent for a moment. His smile slowly appeared, not a polite smile, but a smile full of honesty. "Maybe it's because I really can't be away from you," he said quietly. "At first I thought it was just a habit. But now, I know, it's more than a habit." Jinmai was stunned. The words were simple, but so honest that he couldn't avoid it. Hidden confession. That night, Linghe did not continue with his words. However, the silence between them was enough to make Jinmai's heart blossom. He realizes that a habit that once seemed simple has now turned into something deeper, a feeling that can no longer be hidden. And although they did not officially announce anything, everyone could already see the truth. Every look, every little attention, every togetherness they had on the TV show, it all spoke louder than words. Habits that never go away. Years later, the habit has never gone away. Every time they appeared on the screen, the audience could still see Linghe, who was always near Jinmai. "I can still see the way he pays attention to every little detail." And for Jinmai, the custom is no longer confusing. He knew behind all the camera glare, behind all the gossip and speculation, there was one real thing. Zhang Linghe really couldn't be away from him. Not just a habit, but the love that grew, carried over from behind the stage into real life.